Schedule a free design consultation, and the more you buy, the more you'll save on blinds, shades, shutters, and more from Budget Blinds. Visit budgetblinds.com today.
Moses joins us now to talk about sports, and this is the time of year where curlers fight for some attention on the national stage. Is that true?
And it all starts, that's very true, and it all starts, Annika, with the playdowns, in particular the Northern Alberta playdowns, which get underway, by the way, on Thursday. So hopefully one local curler, he hopes, well, perhaps to recapture that same magic he had a few years ago.
New curling club, new team, new association.
It'll be interesting to play against those teams out of Edmonton as a primary area where everybody's from. And we feel we have a great chance, great opportunity to compete against Edmonton's best.
Scott Manners will be entering through the Alberta side of the draw, something that's not new for the former Saskatchewan champion.
I have played out of Alberta before, and it's great to go back to the province.
Since making his Brier debut in 2012, Manners is now with his third team. The most recent change came in November in the most unfortunate of circumstances.
Not very often we hear about curlers getting injuries, but it happened to me this year, so you know, I have to, you know, it was just some minor shoulder injuries that I had, and you know, I put forth to the other team, and they chose to go on.
Now Manners' new foursome consists of guys that will face a new challenge.
For the four of us to get together and play at this level, it's something that's been missing from my game for several years. So, you know, when Scott made the call earlier in the year, we thought, yeah, this would be a good time to get together and step up our game.
We've been playing Super League for the last couple of years, and when Scott hurt his shoulder, had stepped out of his team that he was in, just wasn't sure if he could make it. And then when he healed up enough, he thought he'd take a run, asked us if we'd be interested. And, you know, not that often you get a chance to play with somebody that's been to the Brier, so we thought, let's take a run at it.
He called me, told me the situation that he was in, and wanted to know if I wanted to make a run. And I obviously said yeah, for sure.
In years of actual curling, we're doing really good. As far as competitiveness, yeah, we'll see how the weekend shakes out. We'll go there and do our part, and at the end of the day, we really hope to be one of those teams that gets on that roll.
Perhaps the same role of an unknown that made it to curling's highest stage.
I feel we have an excellent chance to come out and play well, and hopefully we can get on that roll and represent our area.
Well, obviously with Scott, it'd be nice to see him make that stage one more time. Couldn't happen to a nicer guy. And who wouldn't want to see Ed's mustache on the national stage as well? That thing was amazing. Anyways, let's move on now. It's been more than a month since the Lakeland Rustlers basketball teams hit the court. Both the men and women will tip off against the Concordia Thunder starting this Friday at home. But for the women, they've had a hit start to the second half of their season, all thanks to a special bonding trip. Nermanisa reports.
Another tough practice for Chris King and his team. After having an extended time off over the holidays, the rust needs to be shaken off.
Hopefully this weekend we're sharp. We did get some games in. We've been practicing, trying to get a little bit better at our zone and putting in some new things, both offensively and defensively for second semester.
The team hasn't hit the court for an ACAC game since the end of November. This weekend against Concordia will be their first one of 2015.
We've been watching tape on them, and I think they've improved a lot. Nonetheless, we haven't played a game, and they played last week, and I think that helps a lot. So I think they have a little bit of an advantage coming in and already getting their feet wet.
Sometimes it's a hard mindset to get into because we have had that time off and we haven't been playing teams from the ACAC, but I think that's what makes us better than the other teams that we're playing, is that we do have that mental capacity to put ourselves out there and do better than we did last semester.
Now, having a month and a half off could have its pros and cons, but the Lakeland Rustlers do have an advantage. You see, over the Christmas break, they went down to Alabama for a tournament. Now, they played 3 games, 2 of them against nationally ranked teams. Now, the players tell me that those games helped expose some weaknesses that they had and that they're using that as a learning tool in practice.
They bring it every second. They really are aggressive against us, whereas we were used to being one of the bigger teams, and they proved to us that being big wasn't that big of a deal if you weren't physical, if you weren't pushing every second against your defender or your opponent.
While the Rustlers are 11-1 entering their second half of the season, the team isn't resting. They are using that bonding trip as motivation in the tight race for first in the North.
I think we definitely have to play as a team, and I think the opportunity that we had in the States really solidified that for us, and we realized that when we do play as a team, we are much better than when we play as single people, because we have a lot of talent on our team, but when we try and rely on that talent opposed to the team, that's when we're not going to do well.
Nermanisa, Newcap Sports.
Thank you, Nairn. We're going to move on to some hockey here. The Alberta Junior Hockey League, to be precise. The Bonnyville Pontiacs are back on the ice tonight as they face Whitecourt in one of 4 games on the sked. A win for the Pontiacs would give them a 10-point lead over the Wolverines and leapfrog Sherwood Park for 4th in the North. We'll have the results from this contest on late night. And that is your first look at sports. Gerard Lampow will have your weather details coming up. The Lloydminster Baker Hughes Bobcats have been enjoying a great season thus far. With only a handful of games left, the guys are beginning to play the type of hockey they've been capable of all season. Perfect timing considering the playoffs are just around the corner. Aaron Bodato reports.
After a tough 4-0 loss at the hands of the first-place CAC distributors, this young Bobcat squad was able to take something out of nothing. They stormed back this past weekend with a dominating 8-1 victory over the second-place St. Albert Raiders.
It was a complete effort. You know, we had 20 guys going, and they played for 60 minutes against a really good hockey team in St. Albert, and I think they were undefeated in the last 13 games. So, you know, we had to have our best, and we did, and the boys played really well, and they can be proud, and I'm proud of them, so it was a big win for us.
I think the effort was pretty good. In the dressing room, we knew we needed a win that weekend, and gave it all we got on the ice.
The Cats have been hot as of late, going 6-2-2 in their last 10 games. A successful streak that can be credited to the hard work they put in during the week.
It all starts in practice. You know, I'm a big believer. You practice how you play, and you know, we'll do some battle drills, and then Wednesday, Thursday, work on our special teams because I'm a big believer that wins hockey games.
With 4 points separating the 7th seed from the 3rd seed and only 8 games to go in the schedule, this Bobcat squad know they can't be taking anyone lightly.
Right after Christmas, we had 11 games left, and we had goals that every 4 games we wanted to be 3-1. So obviously Saturday's a big one for us.
Starting off on the road in Edmonton, they'll take on the Southside Athletics, who are currently tied with the Bobcats for 3rd place. Then they'll travel back to the border city to host the Fort Saskatchewan Rangers, who beat the Cats 4-1 in their last meeting.
We've been getting a full 60 here the last 3 games, and and that's what it's going to take in the playoffs, playing full 60. So it's going to be a huge test for us, going on the road. They're always tough to win up there, and it's going to take all 20 guys to come away with a big W, and I have no doubt that we can do it.
Aaron Bordato, Newcap Sports.